Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The WSOW Warzone Finals is coming up this weekend. Crimsix with some spicy words. It's got to be said for some of the competitors that he doesn't believe are taking things as seriously as they ought to be. But also Scump with some perspective change, actually, it's got to be said, on the new Modern Warfare 3 title. Initially was frustrated they were only bringing back old school maps. Now he reckons if they executed like Black Ops Cold War, we could be in for a really good season. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. So yes, this weekend, or actually tomorrow, isn't it? The stage is set for Saturday. I'm going to be there, probably not right when it starts, but shortly afterwards anyway. And yeah, it should be a good afternoon, evening. I'm sure that all the players are going to end up at the casino like they did a few years ago after CW in London that is just around the corner. So yeah, it's going to be a good evening. If you guys are attending, then I might see you there at some point in the afternoon. Anyway, I'm just staying for the one night, but should be good fun anyway. So yeah, this is the plan. I don't know what it's going to be like, to be honest. I can't say I'll watch all that much Warzone competitive, but it's going to be interesting to say the least. This is the stage. We've got the North American teams and stuff on the right-hand side, and the European teams on the left-hand side, which is a very interesting setup, actually. The stage looks fantastic here, so hopefully it's executed well on the day. And let's not forget, there's the teams thing, but there's also the solo, YOLO, DOLO, I don't know, whatever they call it, that Scump won a couple of years back. But unfortunately, Scump won't be here to play it in person, because back then it was all online and Scump got the job done. So this time it's a similar thing, but it's still $100,000 for the solo YOLO dub. So yeah, this is what it's looking like. Now, the players are going out there. These are some for the trios. This is what you're looking like in terms of like odds. So, you know, it's kind of wide open, these type of tournaments, right? There's no odds on favourite or anything like that. Tommy's team, Aiden's team, Jowo's team, even Biffle is actually down at his team at 12-1. So, you know, pretty interesting stuff. And this is the numbers for, you know, at least from the bookies perspective, on the solo YOLO thing, right, for the 100k that Scump won a couple of years back. And, you know, we've got FIFA Kill Aiden, Biffle, Armand, Rated Tommy. So, you know, kind of your normal names, but still, obviously, it's wide open. And people say, oh, if Scump was there, like, he'd run up these kids again. And maybe that's true, but, I mean, that Scump win was just so remarkable, given that he never even really played Warzone, didn't really know the meta or anything, and still got the job done. Took down Aiden, of course, in that 1v1 at the end of that. Now, some of the drama that's going around about this, actually, was originating from Crimsix, who saw plenty of the images of the players flying out here to the event, which is obviously something Crim's done plenty of times in the past, even most recently, I'm sure, to the Ren Sport events or whatever he was going to in Saudi Arabia and such. So we'll get back to his tweet in a second here. But, you know, so I looked through it and I thought, all right, how many could I actually find of players traveling first class to this event or in business or something? And it's an interesting debate, actually, that Crim has. Because, well, I guess I'll just read out the tweet first. The amount of World Series of Warzone players flying first class is comedy. Playing a load of extra money for a couple of hours, choosing comfort over a personal test of resilience, and, like, listening to that inner bitch, as David Goggins would say. During traveling to tournaments, everything should be viewed as a test of your mental. Overcome a middle seat, back of the plane, babies crying around you for 9 hours straight. I promise you that when it all goes crazy in the game, you'll be accustomed to the chaos. So, interesting tweet from Crim for sure, and I'm sure that Crim has felt this way. This is just the Crim mentality, isn't it, right? And especially when you're flying all the way to Europe, there's a debate there, right? Do you want to get in a seat and not have a particularly good time and not feel well rested or well prepared for your game? Or is it more like, all right, we've got to get into this prime mental headspace to absolutely attack the day when we play on the weekend? It's only one day of action, so, you know, I get it, right? It's fair enough if you're going to this event with the confidence you're going to win the whole thing and win the 100k solo YOLO as well. So why not spend a bit of extra money to get business class, first class, so you can relax, you know, maybe sleep a little bit, get your glasses of champagne, you know, all the good stuff. But Crim doesn't agree with that perspective at all. So some players were in different opinions on this. Obviously, Mutex here had 3 crying babies and absolutely no legroom. So the question is, did Mutex capitalize on what Crim is saying and go, like, mentally toughen up as a result of this, or did he not? So obviously he's the hero in economy, as are, we've got Repulsor, the crew like that as well, and there was also, so okay, but we did have some. I did find a couple that were finding themselves in the first class seat. Here's Super Evan, Yo Swag, thanks for the first class seat. So you know, we'll see. I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny. And we also had this. So Swag actually did make it to London. I don't know if he was in first class. I couldn't really say anything about it. Maybe it's on his Instagram. But here he is in Piccadilly. And yeah, it's funny, like, because I've been through Piccadilly a couple of times over only the last couple of years. And you can't pass through there without thinking of the god-awful map they put into this one back in MW19 and think, you know, because obviously it's all laid out the same. They straight up copied and pasted it. Apart from, like, the row of buses doesn't really exist because it's just actually a road, so the buses just move on rather than just sitting there end to end like they were in the map. But yeah, as Swag says, trash map. And we also got this from Aiden, right? So Aiden, you know, here they are in the economy seating or whatever, and there's Rated, who's you know, sitting pretty up here in first class or whatever. So yeah, I don't know, I thought this was pretty entertaining just to see, because usually we don't see anything like this from... I think there was a clip, wasn't there, from the OpTic guys. Was it the Toronto event they went to? I forget exactly which one. And they were in, like, first-class seating or something. And then Hex said afterwards, like, I ain't paying for that again. You guys got top 12 or something like this. So maybe there's something to be said for what Crimsix is talking about here, that if you know, get your first class... Is there a negative correlation between actually having a nice seat on the plane and playing well at the event? I don't know, but I thought it was a little bit interesting. And as Envoy and Octane say, like, you know, they had a big delay as well before. So, yeah, I don't know. This is just pure Crimsix mentality stuff on this. But tweet your perspective in the comments below. We'll see if any of them, you know, Rated or, you know, Super Evan or anything just bomb out of the tournaments. Then maybe Crimsix has got something on this. Or maybe it's going to be the other way around entirely. Now, I wanted to discuss in more detail what Scump has to say on the new title MW3. Because it was a couple of weeks back now when it was all revealed that it was going to be straight up the 16 MW2 maps getting remastered. And those were going to be the only launch maps, which is still true. Those are the only 16 maps at launch. Scump was saying, and I totally get it, given the fact that Scump played the hell out of those maps back in the day on MW2, as I'm sure did many of you guys watching, although I was, you know, 1 year late to the party on that, because my first game when I was like 11 was Black Ops 1, so I played a lot of that, but MW2 was even, for, you know, I've been around the scene a little bit of time, but even MW2 was slightly before my time, so, you know, I'm going to have a good time if I actually decide to get this game this year, which I probably will at this rate, to be fair, playing these old school maps. But Scump and others were like, well, it's just the old school maps brought back again. I mean, come on, be a bit more inventive, be a bit more creative. And, you know, it's kind of feels a bit bad when they haven't really added anything new to the party. And I totally get that perspective from Scump, but I think for the vast majority of players that haven't really played much of those old maps, to be honest, it's going to be fine. In addition to the confirmation, then, they will be bringing other maps in as well when the game launches. So Scump seemingly changed his perspective on this a little bit and has gone from saying, well, it's just a bit lazy from the devs, to now thinking, well, if they execute this like Black Ops Cold War, we could be in for a really good season.
All right, so we actually talked about this. We actually talked about this on the podcast. So I'm actually kind of excited for this game for the sole fact that we've seen this done in Cold War, right? We saw this exact same thing happen. We saw them drop, you know, Raid, Standoff, Express. We saw them drop these maps from Black Ops 2, and the gameplay on these maps on a different game and like different time to kill and stuff was actually godlike. So yeah, they're the same maps that we've played before, but with new mechanics, new guns, and like new time to kill, new everything, it could still be like really, really good. And I've been kind of like, I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of short-sighted to that because, I mean, like I said, I've put thousands and thousands of hours into these maps. I'm sure some of you guys have in chat as well. But when I actually thought about it and looked back at Cold War, I was like, okay, that was actually a lot of fun. Those were like the best Cold War maps to play competitively. So
acquisition has improved.
I'm actually like, I'm actually really excited for this game.
Explore what you couldn't do in the old one and what you can do now. From an artistic side,
because I'd rather get, at the end of the day, I'd rather get maps that we know are good than shit maps that they're trying to like, but I also want new maps. I want them to like try to bring out new maps, but this is good.
Map has more detail than I think
it's going to be great.
Map.
It's either you're mad at them because they're not trying to innovate. They're just bringing back the same old shit. They're not trying to, you know, innovate, or you're really, really excited because you love these maps. And I'm leaning a little more towards excitement, but I also do want some innovation and some new maps to come out as well. What do we think about that, chat? What do we think? But they did say they're coming out with 3 new maps per season. So, like I said, with Cold War, it worked so good. It's like, it just works so good with Cold War. So, hopefully it works the same for this game, for the new game.
Black Ops Cold War, of course, was slightly different in the sense that it did launch with plenty of new maps, and then they brought back the remasters, the raids, the standoffs, the express, and, you know, like, was SLAMS in that game as well? I kind of forget. SLAMS was definitely in Black Ops 4, stuff like this. So, you know, those are some options for what they might do. This time it's going to be different where all the remasters come first. But, you know, I think the risk is that the remasters don't play like the originals. And it's definitely possible for that to be the case. And there have been remasters over time. Certainly, like, let's say SLAMS in Black Ops 4, the movement in Black Ops 4 and how quick you went. SLAMS in BF4 didn't really play the same as SLAMS did in other titles such as Black Ops 2. And maybe there's other examples of that happening elsewhere as well. But Black Ops Cold War, it played absolutely fine. I mean, Rage was still fantastic on that game. And I think generally good maps are going to play well anyway. It's just the movement speed that I'm a little bit concerned about. Like, I want to make sure that they're testing how long it takes to run from one side of the map to the other on the old school MW2 and the new MW3 engine, because if you're way faster now, like than you were back then, because the movement seems to be quicker in terms of mantling and stuff, but, you know, is the running speed the same? Because otherwise the map just shrinks, and this is what we discussed actually with Nuketown a couple of weeks back, that Nuketown in Black Ops 1 felt like an actual decently sized map. Nuketown in Black Ops 4 or Black Ops Cold War felt kind of tiny because you moved so quick, but it didn't really seem to affect gameplay on raid and standoff and stuff. They were still very much viable. So I think Scump's hoping that's going to be the case. Maybe Trek just delivered a great job on that a couple of years back and can at Sledgehammer do the same thing. Hopefully they can. And we are going to get to see more insight on this in roughly 3 weeks' time at Call of Duty Next. And then immediately after this, that's when the beta launches and we get to see even more on the matter. Just to close out, I thought was hilarious here from Gersh, who leaked something that I imagine he's been wanting to talk about for ages. No longer part of Subliners, of course, but was on there for some time. And says that it's been changed multiple times since then. So there's no issue with me saying this. But I want everyone to know that Subliners Twitter password back in the day was legitimately some variation of no Doug, no dub. So pretty funny stuff. People don't say no Doug, no dub so much nowadays anymore. Like, it was a big talking point, especially during Cold War when Seattle were making changes and they were kind of like baiting that they were talking to Doug and wanted to get Doug in. Doug was obviously pretty keen. That didn't happen in the end. Even during the MWIII season in 2020 when Doug was on Subliners and was trying every trick in the book to get on the starting team, he was talking to the owners, he was talking to the coaches, like he was trying to get subbed in for the roster for a little bit. Accuracy wasn't having any of it, it didn't seem. So that kind of ended kind of sourly, but yeah, nonetheless, pretty funny that this meme lives on. Maybe not as their social media password, though, unfortunately, as it stands. Otherwise, that would be quite the event. But very much enjoying your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.